You ever have one of those games that just keeps coming back into your life? Whether it be a game that you love and adore, that you swear you've played for the final time because you're like, there's so many games out there, there's so many more things I can do. This is the last time I'm going to play this game, and you find yourself a couple months later or a year or two later replaying that game, swearing you're going to do a different playthrough this time, but you end up building the same character, doing the same playthrough, going for the same love interest because that's how you first fell in love with the game. It's like the classic thing where you can go to a restaurant, your favorite restaurant, there's your favorite thing that you order. You haven't tried over half the menu because you always get your favorite thing. Here's the thing. You get your favorite thing. You're guaranteed to like what you get, you know you like it. If you try something new though, you might be a little bit sad that you didn't get the thing that you wanted to get because that's your favorite thing that was guaranteed to be liked. You know what I'm saying, right? But then think about all the new, beautiful tastes that you could experience if you just go for it and try something new on the menu. That's the risk. Anyways, video games. Or maybe you have that game that you've started time and again, and you keep saying to yourself, it just hasn't clicked with me yet. Like, I should love this series. I should love this game. But it's just not clicking with me and I don't like it. Or maybe it's one of those things where it's like, it's just not the right time. Like, I know this is a good game. I do enjoy it, but I'm just not in the mood for this kind of game right now. And then we have the final category, which I think, there's many categories, but the final category that I'm going to talk about today, which is where Indivisible landed for me. It's a game that you play that has things that you enjoy, but things that make you mad. Not necessarily things that you don't enjoy, but something that's new, something that's like has a learning curve, something that makes you uncomfortable, something that kind of makes you upset. And you find yourself playing the game and you're like, wow, I love the visuals, I love the story, I love the characters, and I like this aspect of the gameplay, but this part is so frustrating, or this part is so slow, or this part is so annoying. And that's where I found myself with Indivisible. That's the thing about video games, right? We can't put them into a box. There are many different flavors, sizes, and colors, and you know, it's possible that you play a game that has many things that you like, but other things that you absolutely hate. And I think that's why, with the limited time that we have in this beautiful world, life is too short for a bad cup of coffee. Life is too short to really invest time into a game when you could be playing games that you know and you're guaranteed to have fun with, right? That's the risk of trying a new game. That's the risk of spending those $60 on a brand new game that you've been excited for, but it's kind of like judging a book by its cover. Nobody's played it yet. The game hasn't come out yet. You've seen trailers. You have an idea of it. But until the game really comes out and you get to either try the demo or watch a couple reviews on it, it's a risk. I love story-driven games, big emotional journeys, RPGs that pull you in right away. And Indivisible, well, it's different. It's got that indie energy, that indie game energy, half platformer, half turn-based combat that sometimes feels kind of action-y. This game was like a weird drug for me because it had so many things that I absolutely loved about it. Some things that I was like, yeah, this is okay. Some things that I was putting up with, and then it had this challenge that I was like, okay, this is either going to be a fun challenge that I want to keep coming back to and I want to get good at, or this is going to be enough of a challenge that I say, you know what, this is just annoying. I play video games to have fun, to maybe take a break from my life, rather than for more of a challenge. And I'm talking to all you flipping Dark Souls players or speedrunners, and which is totally fine, but those of you who love the challenge, you play for the challenge, you play to get better and to beat and to say, dude, I did it. There's a lot of pride in that. I mean, that's probably the reason why, like, I love 100%ing games, right? I love getting platinum trophies, right? It's not so much because I actually want to 100% the game, but there's something about having a trophy that represents the completion of the game and that many people don't have. And then I get to say, oh yeah, look at my PlayStation account. I have 40 plus platinum trophies, and then you look at your account, you got 2 to 3, maybe, if that. But that could be a whole nother topic for a whole nother video, being a completionist and why I've had to move away from that. But anyways, Indivisible is a game that I gave up on many, many times. In my head, physically actually giving up and saying, I'm done with this game, it's not for me, twice. Why does this matter? This isn't a game that I bought. This was a game on Game Pass, making that risk that I talked about earlier almost non-existent, right? I already have Game Pass. There's so many games that I can play with. So really the only thing that I'm wasting is time if I don't like it. But it's not wasted, because then I got to, it was a game that I was interested in, and I found out, okay, yeah, it's not for me. I was never really willing to spend the money on it, but I had the perfect opportunity with it being on Game Pass. Here's the thing, though. It was on the leaving soon list. I looked up the completion time. I'm like, this is not too long of a game. So I'm just going to start it and see how it goes. And I just so happened to start it as I was starting my van trip. So right after I was kind of teeter-totting in between fully letting go of Zenless Zone Zero, the last game y'all saw me talk about, and starting this one. So throughout the video, you're going to see me play clips of times that I was actually playing this game at coffee shops on my laptop through Game Pass. That's why time matters. That's why I say that the amount of times I've gave up on this game counts. Because every time that I gave up and I stopped investing time into trying to beat it, it was time that I was losing because it's already on the leaving soon list. This game is going to leave Game Pass. And if I don't beat the game before it leaves the Game Pass, and I like it, or I get addicted to it, I'm going to have to pay for it. And I don't have a job. So the responsible thing is not buying video games. So that's why the amount of times that I gave up mattered. I'm not going to tell you all whether or not I beat this game. I think even if you don't finish a video game, specifically for the kind of videos that I'm making, because as I've said, these videos aren't just video game reviews. I'm going to be talking about my experience playing Indivisible while living out of my van and while sharing you all my personal journey of things that I was going through in life. And this video is going to get a little bit more serious. I'm going to try to keep it lighthearted, but I'm just going to say what I put on the script. While there were multiple times that I realized that I was done with Indivisible, what I didn't realize was Indivisible wasn't done with me yet. And to make things even more real, outside of the game, I was done with what Jesus was asking me to do in my own life. What I didn't realize at the time was that Jesus also wasn't done with me yet. So yes, y'all can probably tell because of the title. And I do want to include a relatively short little disclaimer here. I'm going to be talking openly about my faith journey and about Jesus Christ. It's something that in this video specifically and in this game in particular, really God used to work on me and to change me and to help me realize things. And here's all I ask. There's a lot of different kind of content creators on this platform, and that's what I find so beautiful about it. There's people from different backgrounds, different races, people who might come from the same place but have entirely different personalities and attitudes. I have been on YouTube for years, and I don't mean as a creator, but as a consumer. I've always had this dream to be a YouTuber, right? What kid hasn't, especially nowadays? Part of the beauty of the platform is I could see anyone coming in with any background, with any story. They might seem successful, fulfilled, happy, whether they seem broken, hurt, like they need help, or if they're here to help others. There's probably someone on this platform that you can find, that you can relate to in some way, shape, or form. And all I ask, right, is in the same way that there's a lot of respect given to all these different content creators. I know there's a lot of hate thrown at them as well, which is a really sucky part. Let's keep that same level of support and respect here, right? Because a big part of the reason why I struggled so much with my faith journey and proclaiming to be a full-blown Christian that loves and believes in Jesus Christ was a lot of the things that I thought Christianity meant, a lot of the things that I thought Christians thought. A lot of those things, that it wasn't until I went through my own journey that I found out, wow, I was so wrong. Humbly, all I ask for is just respect. That's it. For any content creator on YouTube, their audience is a reflection of who they are as a content creator. That tends to be a fact, right? There's some outliers here and there, but for the most part, you take a content creator who is really respectful, sweet, kind, genuine, their viewers tend to be the same. Take a content creator who's disrespectful, really loud, has outbursts, talks a lot of crap, says a lot of bad words, their audience tend to gravitate and be similar, right? It's for the same reason why when those kind of content creators that really like explosive and talk a lot of crap about other people, when they fall, their own audience tend to turn on them a lot quicker. But anyways, that's not what this video is about. Okay, so with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into it. This is not a video of me just reviewing Indivisible as a game, but it's my journey, what I was going through in my real life as I was playing Indivisible, and how I connect it to Jesus. Well, let's get into it.
And so our story begins.
Okay, so let me talk about one of the things that really attracted me to this game. Something that I absolutely loved about this game to this day, and that is the art style. I've always wanted to, this is gonna sound kind of funny, but I have always wanted to play one of those really artsy games. You know, you have games like Cuphead, right? Which what makes that game really cool is the animation and the fact that everything's like hand drawn. And in a way, I was looking at this game in that kind of a light, right? And it's also really different for me because let me say this. When I was younger, right, I loved Crash Bandicoot. One of the only real platformers that I played. There's a B. Growing up, that really became the only platformer that I played. I loved Kingdom Hearts. There's platforming in that, but let's be real, Kingdom Hearts is not a platformer. And in the same vein, I want to say maybe 5 years ago, I was like, dude, I was looking at games like Shovel Knight, Hollow Knight, Ori, and the Wisps of Something, and I said, let's do it. I feel like this is a genre of games that I'm missing out on just because I get really frustrated and I don't like the platforming part. So if I can just enjoy the platforming part, it's gonna open up a door to all these platformers that I now get to enjoy. So I tried playing one of the games that I've heard is really good is Ori, right? Ori and the Something of the Wisps. I've heard that game was great, so I actually tried streaming it. I'll see if I can get some clips. But I remember after like I don't know if I even made it to 2 sessions. Maybe I made it to like 2 sessions of streaming the game, playing for like a couple hours, and I was just like, I'm just not into it. And then it was the classic question of, is it that it's just not the right time to play this game, or is it that platformers are just not for me? There we go. We're just skipping everything. Hardcore. Ooh. Again, like I'm playing and it's like I'm not having a bad time, but I'm also not necessarily like loving this. You know what I mean? And I feel like this is one of those games I'd be playing because it's like, oh, a lot of people play this game and everyone says that it's really good. And it's like, I mean, you know, it's all right. So yeah, maybe I should just stop playing games that everyone else think are fun and play games that I want to play because I think they're fun. And since then, I've been kind of afraid to really try to deep dive into one of those platforming games because I'm like, I'm afraid that I'm gonna find out that I just don't like platformers. Why does that scare me? Because again, there's a whole plethora of platforming games that are so critically acclaimed. But if I say I hate platformers, I'm probably never gonna play Hollow Knight. So I think that's been part of the reason why I've been afraid to really try to get into another one. That's why this game was so fascinating. Because it's like a turn-based action-y RPG. Expedition 33 is a great example. That game is a turn-based game through and through, but each encounter you have so many button presses that you can do that it makes it feel alive and feel more engaging and less just, you know, my turn, your turn. You know what I'm saying? So I felt really at home with the gameplay portion of it being turn-based. I felt really at home with being able to level up and gain new party members. I felt really at home with the joyful, dark, anime-like, fun story, the quirky characters. I fell in love with the characters, the world, the music. There is just so much that I loved about this game. So much. But the platforming. Now, I don't want to be that guy. I don't, but I'm going to do it. You know, I have a podcast that I haven't, done episodes in, like, literally years, like a video game podcast. But in the very first episode, I talked to one of my boys, Ryan. And he tells me that one of his, lifelong childhood games that turned him into the gamer that he is was Zelda Wind Waker, right? Wind Waker was like one of his childhood games that molded him into the gamer that he is. And I was thinking about it. Something that he said that he loved about all the Zelda games, Wind Waker specifically, was the challenge of not really knowing what to do. The game not holding your hand. The game kind of like, with most Zelda games, what I'm saying, they kind of drop you into this world. It's like, go explore it, go figure out the challenge, go figure out how to beat the puzzle, go figure out where you have to go next. And that's part of the exciting thing, figuring it out. And then once you figure it out and you progress, all that time that you were looking was part of the game. That's what makes it fun. Final Fantasy X is one of my favorite games of all time. I can't think of a more linear game than Final Fantasy X. Kingdom Hearts, it's linear, right? We can agree that Kingdom Hearts is probably more linear than, per se, Zelda. So Pokemon, pretty linear. So a lot of the games that molded my childhood, that molded me into the gamer that I am today, didn't exercise this part of my brain that said, I'm not going to tell you what the answer is. You go try to figure out the answer, and that's the game. That's part of the fun. No. What would happen to me is, I remember I'd have strategy guides, and if I got to a part where I was stuck, I would get just upset and frustrated, and I would realize, man, if I spend all this time looking around and roaming around, it's time that I could be playing. It's time that I could be progressing. It's time that I could just, having more fun, but instead I just feel stuck and annoyed. And again, I'm sure there's like nature nurture in here, and it doesn't all have to do with gaming, obviously, because I never had that part in me developed, right? Oh dude, it's exciting, it's fun to figure out the challenge for yourself, and knowing what to do without looking up a guide is the game itself, and it's the reward. I don't have that. Not yet, at least, hopefully. So that's what kept happening to me when playing Indivisible. I kept getting so upset because I was like, it's a really fun game, but there's two things that are annoying me. I'm not that good at platforming. And that bugs me. And there's times where I'm like, where do I go? How do I solve this platforming puzzle? Do I go left? Do I go right? Do I go into the secret corner? There's just many things that this game being a platformer showed me, I don't like this. And then I kept getting frustrated each time I had to stop my gaming session, look up a video, see where the person went, and then try to replicate that in my game. So what about some of the difficulties that I was going through in my own real life? Pretty much freshly just moved into this van. I have my bed. I have, this is like my hospital, infirmary, as you could say. Not living in a house and this being my home was a challenge. And I remember week 1, day 3 or 4, I was like, I don't think I can do this for that long. Like, I can do this. I'm going to do it. That's who I am. But I can't do this that long or indefinitely. Praise God. Praise the Lord. Now that I've been doing this for almost a year now. I've been doing this since January, and it's currently November. And I feel like I just got the hang of this, and I could do this. I could, if I needed to, do this for another 2, 3, 4, 5. I could do this indefinitely now. But day 3 or 4, I was like, I don't think I can do this. My parents raised me believing in God, but we never went to church. They never pushed us towards a specific kind of religion or belief. The only belief they instilled in us is God is real, call to him for help. But that was it. Yeah, so because of this, when I was 18 years old and I was going through a really bad breakup, again, God was always this being that exists, that created the world, and as a lot of humans do, I'm like, this is really the only way that this makes sense, right? This wasn't luck. This wasn't a coincidence. This is one of the only things that for my 18-year-old brain, as someone who was raised telling you that God is real, but not really understanding or knowing who he is, just saying God is real, I'm like, yeah, okay, God is real. So going through a really bad breakup, I cried out to him one night, and it was like the first time that I really questioned. I was like, okay, God, like, I've heard you're real and that you love me. My parents always told me that if I call out to you, you will help. Well, for the first time, rather than just God being a thing that exists, I was like, God, if you are real, I've been depressed for days, weeks. First real loss that I experienced in my life was this breakup. And I said, if you're real, help me. And again, this is part of me being vulnerable. I'm just sharing with you my experience. In that exact moment, I got filled with so much happiness, and I started laughing, and I remember we had a pool table in my basement. I started blasting music and playing pool with myself and dancing and feeling happiness for the first time in weeks. But I've never been the kind of guy to just, boom, that happened, therefore everything that I've ever heard about God is true. I was like, okay, this happened. I don't want to disrespect you, God, but I'm also not going to just fully, because I had this one experience, say, yep, you're real. So then I started, and again, some of you Christians might cringe at this, but understand, coming from a new believer and how the Lord works in different ways for everyone, I started testing God little by little. I remember I had this gym shower where after lifting weights, in between classes, I'd have a really short amount of time to shower. And every time that shower was so cold. It was so cold. And I remember being like, okay, God. One of the times I went to shower, same amount of time, I said, God, if you're real, this isn't a big ask. Can you please heat up the water? Within seconds, the water, it was like a hot tub. It felt so good, and it was so hot. And I was like, whoa, okay, God. So first you make me happy after I have been happy for so long, and now you do this. And then there were more little tests here and there. I'm like, okay. I start going to church, Christian church, non-denominational. I start looking up videos online on other Christians talking about his existence. And I started looking up all these things. I'm going to have more time, I think, as these videos go on to talk about my testimony further. But here's the summarized version. From years of me being 18 to me being 28 last year, 10 years, I knew God was real. I then said, now I just have to know what God I'm praying to. Because of the world that we live in, and thank you to my parents that they never forced me into any belief really. I just had no guidance, and I was like, I'm praying to a God that's clearly listening to me and helping me, but which one? Right? There's so many beliefs, there's so many religions. Which one? So I then took the next 10 years to explore different religions, to learn about different faiths, to learn about different beliefs. And I never got to a point where I said God wasn't real, because he had done a lot for me. I'm not an academic guy, but the Lord helped me get a fellowship, a scholarship that paid for my entire master's degree. I used to be extremely shy, and somehow the Lord made it so that when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, my senior year of college, I won homecoming king for my entire university. That's not to be taken lightly. That's nothing that I did. I used my free will to make these decisions, to trust in him that he could change me. But y'all don't understand. There's just so much to the story. I'll have more time to talk about my testimony, and I'll try to bring it up more. And if I don't, please comment, right, and say no. Or I have another video on another channel where I get into that fully. I'll leave it down in the description. So, point is, a year ago, I get baptized. And I'm no longer wishy-washy. I'm no longer like, is it the God of this, or that? I'm like, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I'm going to go all in. I'm just gonna try going all in, and my life completely transformed. He completely changed and transformed my life. He saved me. He saved me from making horrible decisions. He saved me from hurting people. He saved me from hurting myself. He repaired relationships that shouldn't be restored. He brought a joy and a happiness, and he healed things in my heart that I never thought could be healed. And that's why it wasn't that he did all of these things in one moment, but I found that every time I followed and I tried to learn more about him, learn more about Jesus Christ and Christianity, my life was changing for the best, and I was healing and changing in ways that I'm like, this almost feels supernatural. Like, this doesn't seem normal. So praise Jesus, man. Praise God. Praise the Lord. What I love, me and my friend, we say, what people don't understand is the Lord, he saved me from myself. He really did. He saved me from the mess that I was making. This is what I mean by there was a lot of things that God, Jesus Christ, was trying to change in me throughout this journey as I'm playing Indivisible, as I'm fully deciding to really dedicate my life to Christ and really get to know him, because there's a huge difference between believing in God, getting to know God, and living for God. And now, a year after, over a year of me being baptized, I live for Christ. I live for God, which is crazy, because there's things from my old life, from old Noah, that I never thought I'd be able to change or let go of or stop doing. Particularly things when no one's watching, when no one's around. God's always there. God's always watching. And I never changed these things through my own strength. It's God who changed me. But it did take me using my free will to follow him and to trust him and say, Lord, even though I don't get this, and even though I don't think it's possible, I have faith that you can change me and that you can do it. So I'm just going to keep trying. And he did. Video games. Indivisible. I was learning how to live out of my van. I was leaving California, the place where I'd lived in for the past basically 2 years of my life after leaving my parents for the first time in Michigan, completely uprooting my life. I decided to fully live my life for Jesus and let go of the old me and all the things that I used to live for and turn into this new person, right? To top it all off, that it's just, there's so many beautiful things that I love about this game, but there's just a couple that I'm like, I don't like this. And that's what it was as I was deciding to give my life to Christ and try and change. There were so many beautiful things about Jesus and about Christianity that I wanted to just fully bask in, but it wasn't everything. And the things that I was struggling to let go of and change and accept, or try to understand, or understand that I'm never going to understand, and somehow still follow Christ, that's what I'm talking about. That's what this game was for me. And I'm going to talk about many things that made this game beautiful. And I'm going to talk about how I wanted to walk away multiple times. And it was the same thing with Jesus. There are many beautiful things that I received from putting my full faith in him and living for him. But there were so many things I had to let go of and change that I did not like, that I hated actually, that I absolutely, or straight up that I was like, nope, I just can't. I have a problem. I have an addiction. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can stop. But he made it happen. And the only reason I can say that is because that was a year ago, and it was a year of hard work and changing and just putting my faith in him and walking with him. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people say, God's on my side. You silly goose. God's always been on your side. So now the important thing is how about you get on God's side and you learn more about him and you try to follow him more and be more humble. Anyways, Indivisible. Let's try to talk about Indivisible.